Live. Hmm. Can you get my other phone up there, Chef? On the TV? Where my work phone at? I was trying to find my work phone. All right. So, going to jump in and get started in just a moment here. We're going to set up a Next.js application with better auth. Just going to make a invoice generator that I'm actually going to build for a friend. Invoice generator with the ability to download the invoice. And I'm going to integrate a mail server to send the email eventually. But I think, now that I think about it, it may be fine just for him to download it and send it from his email. That way he'll always have a copy, even though it could be stored online, and eventually I will. But I think for right now, we'll just do a simple invoice tracker that'll allow you to download the invoice as a PDF, send it with a link to make a payment. That's going to be the big thing, because he wants to avoid some of the fees. And we kind of talked through still going to have some with a payment gateway, but at least he won't be using a third-party provider. Another thing he wants that I'm going to have some fun with building is an actual app, mobile app, like an iOS or a Android app, or both. So going to do that as well too. So this is going to be a fun series that I'm going to build live online over the next, hopefully I'll have this done within 30 days, maybe 2 weeks if I can really push it, but certainly within 30 days, it'll be fun to build. Hello, hey, what's going on, Muhammad? How you doing, my friend? Hope all is well, brother. Where you stopping by from, man? I appreciate you stopping by. And I'm gonna go ahead and set up the app. We'll go npx create next app at latest space and dot. And we'll be using TypeScript, yes to ESLint, yes to Tailwind, no to the SRC, yes to the app router, yes to the turbo pack, and no there. What's going on, man? How you been? Car lover, what's going on, man? Is it this past your bedtime? Long time no see. Man, my apologies, man. Been a little busy with work, man. I appreciate the love and support, though, my brother. I hope you've been good, man. You and the family. Oh, man. Good times, good times, good times. Just gonna hang out for a little bit today. Eventually, welcome back. What's up, man? What's going on, Mr. Johnson? How you doing, brother? Thanks for stopping by. Yes, sir. I'm back, man. I am back. A little busy with work, but I also had to kind of pivot from what I was working on, the seafood application website that I was working on before. I had to pivot from that because I was speaking with a friend of mine that actually owns a security business, and where he installs cameras professionally at businesses and for residential. And we were talking about, oh, thank you so much. I appreciate it, man. I tell you what, Q&A later on this evening. I got you. Are you Eastern? What time zone are you in, man? Let's do it today. And I'll make sure, but you know, I always do a Q&A, but I'll do something specifically for that. And how does a raise sound? Let's do it today. I know I'm going to do this for a little while, pick up some lunch, eat, come back, and then I'm gonna jump back on. So the second part today could be on the raise, man. Just let me know if you're up for it this evening. Let me know what time will be good for you, and I'll jump back in for sure. Absolutely. But yeah, so he was speaking with me about being able to build a website, but more importantly for him, an app, because he would rather have something set up on his own and kind of cut out the middleman with so many expenses. 5, okay, UTC 5, got it. All right, we can do that. We can do that. We can certainly do that. But so ultimately he wants a web app and a Android iOS app so that he can cut out the middleman and be able to invoice his customers. And so we're going to start by building just a simple invoice app with the ability to create an invoice. And I'm going to use, I downloaded the app myself, Invoice Simple, kind of as a guide on what features, because that's what he uses right now. So I'm going to set that up. The other thing that I noticed while I took a small step away, not a step away, I just had to take care of some things, is that Auth.js, the auth provider that I like to use for my app, is now being supported by, yes sir, yeah man, no, this is going to be production, man. So I got a friend that builds that has a security business, and he wants me to build something for him. So I told him that if he can give me about 30 days or so, I'll have him something that he can use for right now. But eventually I need to upgrade my computer so I can kind of have my own local database, because I don't think there's a need for me to use Prisma, or not Prisma, Postgres or cloud storage. I could just store what he wants locally for the most part. And the other thing is just making sure that it has a web application and also an Android iOS app. So I've been kind of doing some research to kind of see what makes the most sense. Should I have it integrated all in one, where the Next.js app serves for the web app and the Android iOS app, or should I use something like React Native? So I think I'm just going to test it with doing it maybe a PWA of some sort. But if I don't like the experience, or if it's too many bugs, then I'll just create a separate app. So that's going to be the cool thing for me, man. It's just going to be some good experience. And, you know, based upon how much he wants and how big it grows, you know, we can discuss compensation then. But no, this isn't practice. This is going to be actual build out. Yep. Looking forward to it, man. It should be a lot of fun. And I built something similar. I can show you if you want to see. That's almost a Invoice Simple clone to an extent. Some of the features I didn't include that I know he wouldn't necessarily care about, like being able to change out logos and things like that. Those are kind of like pleasantries that I'll add down the road. But for right now, just going to give him the core functionality. He already has a Stripe account built. So I'm going to have the ability to create an invoice, download the invoice, and then once I've done that, integrate the payment link with Stripe, be able to download the invoice. And then once I could download the invoice, go ahead and get it on the web, let him test it out. If he likes it, then I'll start integrating additional features if he wants to go that route, to be able to like send payment invoices, do estimate quotes, have a quote generator online, you know, how many cameras, how many feet, you know, deposit required up front. Just a lot of different things that he gets from Invoice Simple that he'll like for me to build for him. So yeah, man, no practice. It's gonna be some great experience, and I'm gonna do just about everything that I can except for like secure sensitive information online. And this is gonna be day one of it. All right, so make sure everything's still going. Update the package manager to make sure things are backwards compatible. I think next we'll just make sure that the styling is to our liking. So let me jump in close this out, the global.css, and remove the boiler. I'm just going to add some default styling for the layouts, text size, and the width. Then we'll head to the app, remove this div, replace it with a main tag, add homepage, remove the image, and let's test this baby out to see if it works. Go npm run dev, start on the local server, give it a moment. Appreciate everyone stopping by. It's doing well out there. All right, we are ready to go. And we're good to go. All right, so first thing I want to do is set up Prisma. We'll go npm ID for development Prisma. A few seconds to finish installing. And we'll go npm prisma / client. Press enter. Let me check something out really quick. Uh-oh. What are you doing? There we go. All right, so let's go to Prisma. Make sure nothing changed. Well, I didn't mistype anything. We don't need to do all that. We should just be able to do That's all right. We'll do this. I think it's npmi at prisma client. Okay. And then next we'll need to install the prisma directory. It's npx prisma init. This is going to give us access to the schema.prisma, set up a .env file for us and allow us to build out the models to organize the data. And yep, see it listed right here. So let's go ahead and set up our database, and we'll be using Vercel. And I'm already logged in, so I won't necessarily have to worry about logging in, but it's free to do so. They do have paid tiers, but I don't need to do anything paid with this one. Just gonna click create a database, and we'll be using Neon serverless Postgres. Dismiss this. Click continue, and select the region that's recommended. We'll click continue with that, and to name it, just going to name this invoice, my invoice app. Invoice app. Click create. And we'll click done. We can close this out, and then we'll just copy the .env information, paste it back in to our app. And save this. Head to the schema.prisma. Inside of the prisma directory, we can delete the output, and then now we're ready to add the models or the schemas for the data that we'll want to store within the database. And we'll start by storing our user. And like I said, I just recently got an article where Better Auth is now supporting auth.js. So I just figured, and I've never worked with Better Auth before, but I figured why not go ahead and get familiar with it now, since it is taking over the primary way that I used to set up authentication, which is auth.js. So just head into the documentation. We'll click on get started. And if you aren't familiar with Better Auth, it is a framework, agnostic, universal authentication and authorization framework for TypeScript. Provides a comprehensive set of features out of the box, including plugin ecosystem that simplifies adding advanced feature functionalities, whether you need two-factor auth, passcode, multi-tenancy, multi-session support, or even enterprise features like SSO. Creating your own IDP, it lets you focus on building your app instead of reinventing the wheel. I agree. I appreciate that. So that's pretty exciting, especially if it gives you all of the code that you need to set up a user, email, and password. Not that I have an issue with it, but it just saves time when you don't have to worry about setting up authentication. You can have something that's, I'm assuming this is free. I didn't see anything pertaining to a cost, which I would assume it's not. And you could, but you could still have a secure application. So that's pretty cool. I know a lot of them now actually charge, and there's enough things that you pay for that that if you don't have to worry about paying for it, would much rather go that route. Free is always better. So that's cool. Better Off aims to be the most comprehensive auth library. It provides a wide range of features out of the box and allows you to extend it with plugins, framework agnostic, so you can use different framework with it. That's perfect. Email and password support right out of the box. That's pretty cool. It will set that up. Account session management, a built-in rate limiter. That way, this is pretty important. That way you don't have to worry about people hitting your APIs too frequently. My wife was telling me about a customer that she dealt with who browser timed out on her, I guess, but ultimately she kept hitting the submit button on a payment, and it actually didn't charge the customer more than once. And I knew it wouldn't charge the customer more than once because, you work for an employer, typically they're going to have security measures in place, and one of them is a rate limiter, just to make sure that you don't have too many requests with the same ID, same session, same requests, and multiple instances. That could just be a bad customer experience. From a developer perspective, it overworks your server. But from an end user, had that customer been making multiple payments, she could have been lost, I don't know, a few hundred, maybe even $1,000 out of her account if she was making that same payment over and over. So a rate limiter is very important. Database management, social sign-on, that's pretty cool. Two-factor plugin eco. Okay, so I'm gonna play around with this and maybe install a couple of these for the application, because we're gonna need authentication anyway. So I'll click on installation, install the package, Better Off, and I'm using npm, but of course there are other options there to use based upon how you want to install your dependencies. So I'll just copy this. I don't see a little button anywhere, but oh well. Then we'll go back to VS Code and install this package. Actually, it may make more sense just to do this. I need to update my node. Yeah, I will definitely do that. And we'll click on I'll click Nextjs. Where's installation? Actually, we'll just move this over. All right. All right, so we'll go with installation again. Install the Better Off dependency. We'll do that now. And paste it in the VS Code. Hit enter. We need to set up a secret key. Oh, and they have the option to generate one for you, so I'll just take advantage of that and get us a key. Alright, so we'll just go with add it into the .env file. Paste paste this in. Better off experience, create a file name auth in one of these locations. So we'll use a lib folder. Close public. In the root directory, add a folder named lib and a file named auth.ts. And we'll add this code. So far, very similar to auth.js for the initial setup so far. Better auth requires a database to store user data. We're going to use Prisma. Yeah, we'll rather use a ORM. We'll use a Postgres database. We'll rather use Prisma as the ORM. So we'll just copy this as listed, and this goes in auth.ts. So we'll replace this with this. And we need to set up the Prisma client. I could change this to PostgreSQL. Alright, so also inside of lib, we'll add a file named prisma.ts, and let's grab a function to help us with this one. Let's go to my GitHub repo notes, some reinventing the wheel on this. Let's go to a seafood app. Copy this function. You can capture this from the docs as well. I just knew I had one nearby. And we'll paste in that code. Then what we want to do is remove the client and replace it with the actual way that we will be connecting via Prisma. And we just stored it in a separate file. So I'm gonna import it. And it should be coming from /prisma. It's perfect. We have our database, we have the provider. That looks good, okay. Better off required includes the CLI to help manage the schema required by the library, generate the command. This command generates an ORM schema. Oh, that's pretty cool. It'll generate a schema for you. I'm not going to, I think I'll create my own, but that is pretty cool that you have that option. And authentication methods, configure the authentication methods you want to use. Better off comes with built-in support for email, password, and social. Okay, that's pretty cool. And mount handler, to handle API requests, you need to set up a route handler on your server. Create a new folder, new file or route in your framework's designated catch-all route handler. API auth, yep. This route should handle requests for the path unless it's configured differently. So we're using Nextjs, and we need to create this inside of the app directory. So I'm just going to copy this, go back to VS Code. We'll create a folder, paste it in, and the file name should be route.ts. I'm going to copy it. Better off supports any backend framework with standard request and response objects and offers higher helper functions for popular frameworks. Okay, that is pretty cool and good to know. So I'm just gonna paste in this code that I copied. Perfect. Create the client instance. The client side library helps you interact with the auth server. Better Off comes with the client for all the popular web frameworks, including vanilla JavaScript. Import the create auth client from the package for your framework. Better Off React. Okay. All right, so we need to create a auth client.ts file. So I'll just copy this. Go to the lib directory. Inside of it, create a file named auth-client.ts. And so what this is saying is that if you're using a different base, wait a minute. The client library helps you interact with your auth server. Better Off comes with a client for all the popular web frameworks, including vanilla JavaScript. Import the create auth client from the package for your framework. Call the function to create the client. Pass the base URL to the server. The same domain as the client. Skip this step. If you're using a different base path other than API auth, make sure to pass the whole URL, including the path. Okay. So we're not looking to do that. I think for us, what we'll do is we'll bring in the create client, or excuse me, create auth client, and that should be coming from Better Off /React. Yep. Then we'll need to create a export const auth client, CLIENT. CLIENT. There we go. Sorry about that. Needed to set the auth client equal to create auth client, and then we'll just pass in plugins. I think we'll use the next cookies from Better Off with auth.js. That's going to help us store the authentication in the application, and we'll just use it by cookie versus JWT. Okay. All right, so that makes sense. So we'll import next cookies coming from Better Off Nextjs, and then just pass in the next cookies, and be sure to call it. Cool. Hit save. All right, so with that, I think that basically set it up. That's it. You're now ready to use Better Off the application. Continue to basic usage to learn how to use auth instance to sign in users. Let's click on that, see what it has. Provides Better Off provides built-in authentication support for email, passwords, social providers, but also can be easily extended using plugins, username, password, passkeys, email, TP. Okay. To enable email and password. Oh wow. So you pass in the plugin. To sign up a user, you need to call the client method, sign up.email with the user's information. Okay. And then you can have it do different things on the request. If it's successful, redirect. On error. Okay, so you can tap into this to show the loading state, success, and on error. By default, the users are automatically signed in after they successfully sign up. This to disable this behavior. Okay, that's pretty cool. You can get access to adjust that without having to create too much code. It's pretty cool there by default. Yep. Sign in to sign a user in. You can use the sign in.email function provided by the client. All right. Email the user, email the user password, a URL to redirect the user after the user verifies the email. Okay. Well, you can have them verified as an extra security step, callback, dashboard. I'm not gonna need all of that, but that's pretty cool to know. And server-side authentication, certainly going to have server-side authentication for security. I love that. The API methods, the API, nice. If the server cannot return a response object, you'll need to manually parse and set cookies. But for frameworks like Nextjs, we provide a plugin to handle that automatically. Yep. Better off can't use the Nextjs. Before you start, make sure you have a better off instance configured. So yep. We'll create the text, catch all, export class. Okay, so there's the body parse. Inside it, if you need to, this is for pages route you need to use. So we're not using pages, we're using the app directory. This is if you were using the pages directory, okay? Client instance, you can name the file anything you want. Here you have it off client. I would just keep it simple. Yep. Once you create the client, you can use it to sign up, sign in, and perform other actions. Some of the actions are reactive. The client uses and they don't store the state, okay? To store the state and re-render the components. Well, that's good. So it has built-in state management, if you will, to capture those changes. That's pretty cool. Client can also use better fetcher to make the request. You can pass the fetch configuration to the client. API object exported from auth instance contains all the actions that you can perform on the server. Every endpoint made inside of better auth is inconceivable as a function, includes plugins and endpoints. Okay. All right, so you're capturing the headers. Yep. Session. Okay. So this is what we'll do on the front end. No session, otherwise, no session that we can say you're not authenticated. Otherwise, we can show who the user is or something else. Server action cookies, and that's the approach that we're taking. Just to kind of talk through that. When you call a function that needs to set cookies like sign up email, sign in, and the server action cookies won't be set. That is because the server action needs to use the cookies helper or Nextjs to set the cookies. Simplify this. Use Next Cookies plugin, which will automatically set the cookies for you whenever a set cookie header is present in the response. Okay. Now, when you call the function that set cookies, that will be automatically set. Having the email and password. Middleware, Nextjs middleware is recommended to only check the existence of a session, to handle redirection to avoid blocking requests by making an API or database call. You can use get session cookie helper from better auth for this purpose. I'm not going to worry about it, but it's pretty cool to know that it's here. I don't know if it has any security warning to get session cookie function only checks for existence of a session cookie. It does not validate it, relying solely on the check for security. It's dangerous as anyone can manually create a cookie to bypass it. I agree. You must always validate the session on the server for any protected actions or pages. I absolutely agree, and we certainly will. Even though for what we're building, it's not going to be that imperative, but it's always good. I mean, this is someone's information, so we're going to make sure that we take every redirect, session, cookie expectation we can from a security perspective. So that will that's something we're going to take very serious. So we'll do something different than use the middleware. How to handle auth checks in page and page route. So if we wanted to do, we'll do it on the front end as well, but it's pretty cool to see that they already kind of have all this laid out for you, what you need to do. So this is just kind of talking through how to capture this information if you're using Nextjs 15.2. Allows you to use Node.js runtime in the middleware. This means you can set the auth API object directly in the middleware. Oh, that's good. Anytime I set up something that I'm not familiar with, I like to read the documentation before I jump straight into code. Not saying that one way is better than the other, it's just a personal preference. But this is pretty cool to see how well written this documentation is, and it seems to be pretty straightforward. Like I said, I heard of it, but I never used it. I was content with auth.js. It took care of what I needed, but since it's going to be supported by better auth now, and there's already documentation on how to migrate it from auth.js to better auth, I figured why not go ahead and get it set up myself so that I'll be ahead of the curve, if you will. And since this is going to be ongoing supported, it'll just make sense to integrate it. And it has more authentication features that I can take advantage of. All right, so let's get back into some coding. I think we'll go ahead and build out a sign in, sign up route with the auth form, and we'll try the email and password first. And then we'll come back and use social and maybe even email verification, but let's jump into that now. Let's move this over, give me a second. Okay. All right, so we can go back to our Next.js app, close this out for now, this out for now, this as well, certainly that. Oh, we need to set up the models in addition to migrate them to Prisma. So I'm pretty sure the models are the same for Prisma, and that's the beauty of using Prisma, is that you don't necessarily have to worry about learning so many different ways to write the models. You could just write it for Prisma and be good to go. So I'm going to grab the model now and update this file. I'm not going to type all of that out because it should be pretty standard. Give me 1 second. So we'll go to the Prisma directory, schema.prisma file, just paste in this just to kind of run through it. Of course, we have the database connection and the client to generate at the top, but then we have the user model, getting the name, email verified, image. So we can maybe add a way to store an image for a user if we wanted to, based on email password, since there wouldn't be one created, and making sure that the email is unique and that the user is mapped to the user model. Of course, capturing the session, the time, the IP address, the user agent, user ID, and got the relation back to the user, and then capturing the account, the provider, token, password stored in the account. Nice. Okay, so it's not necessarily attached to the user. So I like that adjustment, because that's not how it is with auth.js, because I don't necessarily want to store someone's password. Since they're handling it, they can manage that. Another layer of security. So I like that. Verification model. Okay. All right. So pretty standard. So then now what I want to do is update this information to our Postgres database via Prisma. So inside of the terminal. Let's do something a little bit. Let's type in npm exec prisma migrate dev. Yeah. Name it init. Okay. Then we'll type npm exec prisma generate. Perfect. And let's make sure that this took. I didn't stop the server, so let's just stop it and restart it. Let's make some changes. npm run dev, and then in the second terminal, type npx prisma studio. Let's enter. All right. Cool. And we see the models are here, so that's perfect. Let's copy that, paste it into this one. Perfect. And we'll check the server. We should be still good. Let's make sure. Yep. All right, so let's go ahead and begin to build out the front end sign in, sign up routes for our user, for our applications. Work on that now. Power cable came unplugged. Yeah, it's cool. I'm gonna plug it back up. logic now, and then we'll jump into bringing in the actual authentication piece of it. So let's just create some reusable components. So we'll start with the form and give it a class name of space on the wild conditionally rendered based upon if we show sign in or sign up, or if we're showing conditionally render an additional field on this form. So because we're on sign up, we want to show ask the user for their name. That's going to be part of the sign up process. So let's go ahead and create a type of mode and set it equal to two modes. And of course we know we'll need to give it some props. Then we'll go the mode will either be mode, and the other prop we're going to pass in is redirect. Redirect to, and we want to redirect to a different URL, and that will be a string. So now inside of the auth form, we'll need to bring in those props. The first one is going to be mode, which is pretty simple, and then redirect to if the user is signed in, we want to redirect this user to a different route. The route that we'll redirect it to for right now, since we may have a landing page for this, would be dashboard. And we know we'll need a few things to redirect the user, but I'm not necessarily worried about that right now. What I do want to do is go ahead and test out or conditionally render an input in the event the user is on the sign-in route. When you pass in some props, we'll do that in a second. So we'll know we need to use some JavaScript to conditionally render. So we'll say if the mode is equal to sign up, and we want to display something, and we're going to display a input. So actually let's add a label of name, because remember, if you're signing up on the website, then you know you'll need to add a name as part of the sign up process. If you're using Google, you're going to automatically get that information. So just so we can see something on screen, we're going to need to pass information into this form as part of its ability based upon it being conditionally rendered. So if we're on the sign up page, we know that we want to see the sign up option, or the name, if you will, because that's what the user needs to enter to sign up. I sure did have it up loud. My apologies, man. I forgot I turned it up and forgot to turn it back down. Man, I'm so sorry, brother. My apologies. But thanks for the heads up, though, man. Code is inevitable. I appreciate it, man. So if we're on this route, let's go ahead and set the mode to sign up. That way the user sees something. And just to test this out, let's add something else underneath this conditionally rendered mode. That way we can see, well, what we should see is on the sign up route, the name and the next field, and once we go to sign in, we should only see one field. So I'm just going to add a label of email. So we see name and email. Now if we go to sign in, we only see email. So we know the conditional rendering is working. So that's absolutely perfect. What's this, baby? No, I definitely scared. You know, sometimes these shows be a little too out there for me, but this might be pretty good. They got, it might be a little, you know, a little more sensible. Yeah, I'm cool. All right. And so now let's go ahead and continue to work on this form. We'll add a input under the label, input. The input is going to need a name, which will be name. We'll have a required field to make sure that the user enters something. And let's give it some styling. Well, let's add a placeholder first. The placeholder will be enter your name. Okay. Now we'll give this a class name for styling. We'll set the margin top of 1. Go width of full. Rounded medium. We'll go border so we can see something. Set the border to neutral 200. Okay. Then we'll give it some padding on the X of 3. Padding on the Y of, let's start with 2. We'll go outline of none. Focus ring of 2. Okay. So that works. Remove that. All right. Let's change this as well. Let's go with a class name of block. Set the text to small, the font to medium. That'll work. And then we can copy this and reuse it for email. Change this label to email. Change the name to email. Enter your email. Okay. And then last but not least, we'll need to have something for password. So we can paste that back in, change this to password. And change this field to password. We'll set the type on this one to password as well, so that it is, yep, grayed out. And we'll set the type on these while we're at it. Type to text. We'll set this type to text. We'll set some padding to 2. There. Fix that. Perfect. And I can actually remove this additional padding since we have that. All right. Then I think I'm gonna add a autocomplete to the password. Autocomplete. Nah, don't worry about that. Now I want a login button, and instead of hard coding it, I think I'm going to create a reusable login button. Probably could have done that with the inputs as well, but maybe we'll come back and refactor it later. But let's just go ahead and set up a reusable login button that will, yeah, let's just set up a reusable login button. So inside of the auth form, let's add a file, inside of components, let's add a file named login button.tsx. We'll mark this as use client, and we're going to import the asterisk that's coming from React. There. Then we'll set the type props. Equal to react.button HTML attributes. This is going to be a HTML, that should be capitalized, button. Yep, element. We'll go and we'll be listening or looking for loading. And this is going to be a Boolean, of course. It's either loading or it's not. And we'll create an export function. Name this login button. So don't worry about that just yet. Well, let's just return a, yeah, we can just make this a button, no fragments needed. And we'll need to pass in some information here. So we'll go props. I'll make that uppercase. There. And then what we want to pass in is loading, the children, class name, because this is going to be a reusable button. I just wanted to pass in quite a few elements to it, and we'll set it to a empty string, and then we'll destructure and just pass the word rest to capture anything else. All right. Situated. And inside of this button, we're going to need to do quite a few things. But first, let's go ahead and just pass in the children so we can get something on screen. So we'll go a span because I want to have different elements inside of this. I'm just going to pass in the children for right now. And then let's import this inside of the auth form so that we can see it listed out on screen. So we'll go back to the auth form, and then we're going to import the button, login button. And that's coming from /login button. And then towards the bottom underneath the last div, we'll add or bring in the login button. And then for this, we're going to say, I want it, because this is conditionally rendered, we want to show a different message based upon the mode that we're in. So if the mode is equal to sign up, then what we want to do is show to the user, create account. Otherwise, we want to show sign in. And because we're in the sign up mode, that's why we see this. And if we go to sign in route, if we go to the sign in route, we're going to see sign in. So that's perfect. Okay. Now let's go ahead and style the login button just a little. You want to put it on the game, baby? Until we free again. Yeah. Oh, that's how you sign. That's why I said it, baby. All right. So inside of this button, let's begin with some styling. And I think this is going to need to be dynamic. So we'll change this to relative. And we'll go inline flex. We'll set the width to full. Let's make everything centered. Center. Okay, you see it updated on screen. Want to set the roundness of it to medium, padding on the X of 4, on the Y of 2. Okay, let's let the font be medium. We'll set the text to neutral 200. It's gonna be a little light, but let's make the background color neutral 700 maybe. Okay. I think that'll work for right now. Yeah, this will be fine for right now. Let's set the type of this button to submit. We'll come back and add some loading animations later, but this should be enough to have a form to get us started. Maybe we'll add a little header. And why don't I set the width of this form to maybe 400 pixels? It's a little better. It's a little easier to see. You all right over there, Chad? You having a hard time over there. Pick up your little lungs or something out your body, Chad. Pick up your little lungs or something out your body. All right, and so let's just add a little simple header to the page. That way we'll have something on screen. Trying to think, how do I want to do this? Do I want to make it reusable and conditionally rendered to stay consistent, or just keep it simple and just get something on screen so we can test out the authentication? I think I may just go with, you know what? Let's do this. Let's go back to the page. We'll give this, I'm gonna copy this for right now. I think I'm gonna remove this and make this a section. We'll paste this in, give this a class name of a height of full. Um, let's just see what the color looks like. Okay. So I'm not gonna worry about adjusting the height. But what I will do is create I think I'll move this to a wrapper maybe. Or do we just keep it as it is? I'll just keep it as is for right now. Yeah, let's put this in a separate wrapper so that we can keep the styling of this a little more consistent. So inside of the components folder, add a file named page wrapper.tsx. And this will be a wrapper that we'll create to give this a little more styling once we bring in the social authentication. But it's probably best that we just go ahead and test out the authentication first, and then we can always come back and kind of modernize this a little bit, so that it's not so so clunky with so much of repeated code. We won't have to chase perfection right now. So inside of the auth form, let's go ahead and utilize or bring in that sign in, sign up logic. So at the top, I'm going to import, once we sign in, we want to redirect the user, since we'll just go use router, and that should be coming from next navigation. And we'll also add a little toast notification from another terminal with Sonner. So we'll go npm sonner, Sonner. I need to upgrade my node. Then close this too. Then I think we'll need to create a asynchronous function to perform the action. And we'll add errors and all that good stuff later on, but for right now, let's just create the async function. So inside of the auth form, let's add a async function, and we'll name this on function on submit. There we go. Inside of this, we know we're going to pass in some form data. You giving me an error. Oh, yeah, that's fine. You can give me an error. We're not haven't declared or done anything with it just yet. So let's create a couple of consts. The first one is going to be name, and that's going to be equal to form data. It should be lowercase dot get. Just realized I had extra brackets in that. Form data dot get, And what we want to get is the name, or it could be an empty string. And if it's an empty string, obviously we'll just send a error message or a notification to the user that it can't be empty. And then we'll also do a const email, which will be a string form data.get, and we'll be getting the email or a empty string. And we'll go const password is equal to a string form data.get password. We'll save this. So that's going to capture the information from the form itself, which aligns with this. The name is name, name email, name password. And then we'll need to compare it to something, and we'll go ahead and create a const name results and set that equal to, if the mode is sign up, we want to show something. Otherwise, and we'll add a question mark, await, and then we'll also add the, or if it does not equal sign up, we want it to show something as well. So here we want to use the auth client from that we created earlier, which will almost be the equivalent of creating a Prisma function to create a user or to verify if that user exists. So with better auth, it does the heavy lifting for us. So we're going to import the auth client, and that's going to come from @lib/auth-client. That's what we set up and created earlier. So we're going to use that method inside of, or with the functionality to sign up a user based on their email, name, and password. So we'll go await, so auth.sign up, then .email, because we're using the email. And inside of this, we'll pass in the name, email, and password. And then if the mode does not equal sign up, then we know we're going to sign in. That's going to be auth-client.sign-in.email and .email. And for this one, we're going to do just email and password. Perfect. And then we'll need to do some conditional rendering with the result to do some simple validation. We'll say if the result dot error we want to do something, we'll say console.log sign up, no, we'll say auth error. Then we'll say if there are no errors, say if the mode is equal to sign up, then we want to do something. And this is where we're just going to send something back to the user saying that they've successfully signed up, and we want to push the user. But for right now, I'm just going to go router.push. Oh, I brought in use router, but I never assigned it to anything. So sorry about that. We'll go to the top, go const router is equal to use router. There, that should take care of that. and it should be router.push. We want to push the user to a different route. This route is going to be sign in, because if they're already signed up, then we'll just move them to the sign in route just to make sure that this works. Well, actually, you know what? If it's gonna automatically sign you in, let's just redirect the dashboard. All right. Now to test this out, we need to pass this on submit function to the form as an action. Just go on submit. So what should happen based on what we have is we should sign the user up with the name, email, and password. Click on create account, and we should be redirected to the dashboard route, which we haven't created yet, but we can do that now. So inside of app, I'm gonna create a route grouping named dashboard, and then add a folder named dashboard with the page.tsx file. And then we'll go export default function dashboard page. We'll return a div named welcome user. All right, let's test this out. So we'll enter a name of Jace at Gmail. I'm just going to set the password to anything. Click create account. And I'm redirected to welcome user. So let's see if it actually works. Well, let's see if it actually saved the user in the database is what I should say. So we'll go to our Prisma Studio, refresh it, and let me see something. It might not have took, but let's make sure. Prisma Studio. No, it didn't take. Okay, so let's see. It redirected the user, but it didn't actually persist the user data. So let's go back and let's make sure we didn't miss anything. Password, email, sign up. Yep, we got that. The auth TS, we have our sign in. Let me make sure. This email looks good there. Into auth file database. Oh, see already I didn't include better off enabling the email and password. Would help if you did that. And I'm gonna remove auto sign in. Let's try this now. So Jace at Gmail. Create user, and we'll give this a loading animation later on, because it takes a second, as you can see. And we'll go to localhost 5555. There. So it actually does save the name, the email verify no, created an update session. Let's see It has the session. Use a token. Yep, has a token. Perfect. The account. Provider. User. Token is null. Scope. Hash is the password. Okay, nice. So now let's just make sure that we can see the actual user's information once they're logged in. That way we'll know who we're logged in with, and we can show a little message back to the user saying welcome of some sort. So let me think about this for a second. I think there is remember we were on the page, this is it, and it had the code already laid out for us right here. So let's go ahead and add this to the dashboard page and see what we get. Go to dashboard, and according to the docs, we'll need to make this export default asynchronous, and then we'll bring in the auth session, or the auth, excuse me. So we'll go import auth. That should come from @lib, yep. And then we'll import the headers. We'll just say import, I just copy it. Okay, we have it async. We'll just need to capture the session. We'll just capture all of this. Paste this on. Not a big fan of copying and pasting too much, but want to make sure I understand what's going on first. But this is pretty straightforward, so no biggie there. All right, and then what we should see is that we have a, yep, welcome Jace. We have a logged in user, so that's pretty. And if we refresh, it should remain, yep. All right, so that works perfectly. Pretty straightforward to set up, email and a password, no bcrypt, all of that good stuff, or password hashing and making sure it's stored with the user. It's pretty cool. It takes care of it for you. And I like how it stores it in the account and not with the user. So we're not storing the user password inside of our data because we don't necessarily need it. All we need is the user name and actual email. So that's good. All right. So I think now let's go ahead and integrate the social login with Google. But you know what? I'm going to hold off on that for right now because we're going to need to create a different form to bring that in. And I'm going to need to step away for a minute, but we'll work on that tomorrow. Later on this evening, I'm going to jump back in and we're going to do some JavaScript, maybe a few JavaScript exercises and build a few things with arrays and do a little Q&A for those that might be interested. So for right now, I will see you later. Otherwise, thank you for stopping by, giving me some time and attention, showing a little bit of love. I appreciate it. Otherwise, I'll see you later on.